Hi, I'm Dan Rosenstark with MIDI Designer, and in this video I'm going to go over snap and return to value. That was the original intent of the video, but I'm going to talk about several more things, and this video is going to be a bit longer and a bit more exploratory because hearing from users, those are actually the most useful videos, is the videos that ramble on a bit more and explore a few more things. So I'm going to take the liberty to do that in this video. So the first thing that I'm looking at here is I'm looking at MIDI Designer, and it's got the default controls. And this is how MIDI Designer will start from a completely new install. And you've got random LED colors, you've got just a few background colors, they're gray and black and white. And I've got more possibilities for those colors in MIDI Designer, so if I just go into more design, double tap on a page tab, and then I can just go through the random color, texture, and LED. And here you can see some of the wackier background colors and background textures too. So you can start getting a lot of variation. And of course you can color your individual controls. But in any case, I'm not going to start from the default layout. I'm going to start from a blank layout. So I go into more and get into config. And one of the things that you'll notice now is that you see the Wi-Fi status, the time, and the battery status when you're in config. So that's new to MIDI Designer 2.4. And now I'm just going to go into actions and hit new. And it asks if I want to create the default controls, but instead I'm just going to say yes, meaning no default controls. And here we start with a pretty blank layout except for these MIDI Designer logos here. So one thing that I can do is I can take them, I can enter into design mode, and I can take them and I can move them around. And that's all fine, but what I really want to do is I just don't want to touch that stuff. I want the image panels to sit wherever they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the lock. So next to the exit design mode button, and please note this button is movable so you can move it out of your way. So right next to this is a lock, and I'm just going to lock the panels. So now whenever I tap on the panels to do anything, the panels aren't going to react. I'm going to get the underlying page or whatever control is on top of the panel. So now we're going to move ahead, and first I'm going to switch to Ableton Live, show what my setup is, and then I'm going to switch back to MIDI Designer and show how I'm using that setup. So in Ableton Live I've just got two tracks. This is the first one. And this is the second one. Okay, so I've basically got some percussion and some drums. And I've also got a distortion setup, which is the machine distortion set to the Mulholland variation. So the whole thing with some distortion would sound like this. So that's nice, and I don't have anything mapped to it yet. First thing that I want to do is I'm just going to set up 4 knobs in MIDI Designer, then I'm going to map them to Ableton Live, and then we're not going to look at Ableton again, which could be any DAW for this example. So I'm in design mode in MIDI Designer, and I'm going to add 4 knobs, so I can just tap anywhere and hit add 4, and I get 4 knobs, and this pink color isn't very good for me today, so I'm just going to do a random LED color and switch the whole page. So that purple looks fine, it's visible against the gray background, that's all good. So we're going to leave that, and now what I want to do is I want to map them to Ableton Live. So the first thing that I need is I need to get connected. So I go to More, Config, and Connections, and I'm just going to connect to my Wi-Fi MIDI network. So this is called DR2050 Dev. So I hit that, and I'm connected as far as MIDI Designer is concerned, and I'm going to exit out of design mode too. And now I'm going to go into Live and just make sure that I'm taking remote mapping in for that MIDI port. So I go back to Ableton Live, go into Live, Preferences, go down to the MIDI tab, and here, Input, Network, Dan's Dev, which is the same network, that's the internal name, and I've got Remote turned on. For this video, I'm going to shut off Track because we're not using Track Input. Just to clear this up, if there are any questions, the remote input is host automation in Ableton Live. So everything that you do when you map in this blue mode that you turn on by hitting MIDI here, that is host automation. Track is used for either note data being sent to a track, like a piano keyboard or a piano controller being sent to a particular plugin, and also for MIDI data being sent directly to the plugin and bypassing host automation. In this video, I'm just using host automation. Okay, and now I'm going to map up my 4 things. So the 4 things that I have are, I'm just going to switch into MIDI mode here in Ableton, and I'm going to tap on the first volume, and I'm going to map that to knob 7 here. So that mapped. I'm going to take the second volume, and I'm going to map it to knob 8. And then in my distortion plugin, I have the wet dry knob. And I'm going to map that to knob 9. Let me tap that better. So I have to remap the second knob. Yeah, there we go. And now mapping the third knob to knob 9 and the fourth knob to knob 10. So now I'm going to exit out of MIDI mapping mode in Ableton by hitting Escape or tapping the MIDI icon. And I am going to go back to MIDI Designer and drop these volumes. And now I'm going to turn on the tracks in Ableton Live. And let's see if everything works. So track 1, that sounds good. Track 2, sounds good. And this distortion thing. So that all works relatively well. So now we're going to focus on just MIDI Designer from here on out. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label this stuff just so I know what's happening. So the first one, I'm going to make this panel sticky. Most users have seen this. If you're new to MIDI Designer, this is sort of the power feature, is I hit this thing, this LED on the top right, the red one, and it turns green, and now the panel is sticky, which gives me some really fast editing. So I'm going to go into the first one, and this is great with an external Bluetooth keyboard, and I'm going to call this volume 1, and now when I tap on the second one, I can immediately type volume 2, and I tap on the third one, just a single tap if you're in that green lock mode, and this is called distortion mix, and this one is called tone. I really love this distortion and machine. The old Mulholland one is really cool. And that's good for now. I've got this stuff labeled, and let's see what we're going to do next. So what I want to do next is I want to show what happens when I map a momentary button as the super control of a knob, right? So I'm going to go here and I'm just going to create a single button. And this button is going to be a super control of this knob. So I double tap the button, or I single tap the button with this thing locked. Go into relationships, make it a super control, go into subcontrols, and drag it to the subcontrol that I'm interested in, which is this tone subcontrol. Right? And now I'm going to go back to the button again, go back, go to properties, and I'm going to make it a momentary button. Okay? And now I'm going to exit out of design mode, and we're going to see what that does. So I've got a track playing. So now, as I go through the values, it's stepping through individual values. So that's all right, but let me me actually step faster through individual values. So how do I get my momentary stepper to go a bit faster? So I go to More, go back to Design, and I'm just going to change the actual tone knob itself. If I didn't want to do that, I could make a knob in between them, make that knob a super control of the tone knob and the button a super control of that. But in this simple case, I'm just going to take the tone knob and I'm going to change the number of ticks. And right now there are 128 ticks. That's the number of steps. Right? And I'm just going to drop it down to something, it's got to be an odd number is all, so that it's got a center. Actually, it doesn't have to. It can be anything. But I'm going to make it 9 for now. That sounds like a fine number. Hit apply, get out of design mode, and now let's see what happens. Okay, so it's stepping around and it's rapping. That's a little weird. I might not want that rap. What if I don't want that rap? So again, I go into More, Design, and now I double tap on this knob. I'm going to rename this knob. This is Increment for now. And I am going to go into Relationships, Options as Super, and let me just change the stepper options, right? So the stepper options, instead of being a stepper, there's also an option to force it not to be a stepper at all, which we'll explore in a bit, but I'm going to change it to stepper no wraparound, right? And users ask for this for what we can call safety, so that you don't suddenly get into this totally different setting. So now it works like this. So now it's stuck here. It's not going anywhere unless I bring it back. And then it goes again. Okay, so that's no stepper. Right, so that's my increment button. Now I'm gonna make a copy of this guy. So I go into design mode and I take the increment button and I go to actions, and there are two options here. One is copy and one is make similar. What a copy is it really is the exact same control. It's got the exact same relationships, and in fact, if I change the relationships in one of the copies, it'll change the relationships in the other. So we're not doing that right now. We're going to use make similar, which is to say I want a control that's like this control, but it's independent. So I do make similar. This one's called increment 1. That's the smart naming coming on automatically, but I'm going to call this for now nothing at all. So I'm just going to hide the label. And since I used make similar, if I look at the relationships, it's already a super control. And it's already got tone as a subcontrol. So that's pretty cool, because that's what I want to explore here. And it's also a momentary button, so that's cool. So it should actually work the same. Let's just verify that, that hypothesis. So here we're just going to pressing the other. So that is exactly the same, and now what I want to do is I want to do something completely different. I don't want it to be a stepper at all. It's a momentary button that I don't want to be a stepper. So I go to More, and I go to Design, and I double tap it, and I go into Relationships, and I go to Options as Super, and now instead of it being a stepper, no wraparound, I'm going to make it not be a stepper at all. All right? So I hit Apply, and now I exit Design mode, and now let's see what happens. Okay? So what you can see is happening is when I hit the button, the tone knob is jumping up, and when I let go of the button, the tone knob is dropping back down to 0. Where are those numbers defined if I wanted to actually play with those? So that's defined in the MIDI min and max of the super control, which in this case is this button. So I go to More and I go to Design and I double tap on this button, and now I go to its MIDI range, and it's going 0 to 127, but I'm going to have it go 33 to 106, and I'm going to apply that, and I'm going to hit it, and now let's see what happens. Now you might say, well, this thing is showing 32. Why is that? And that's because the ticks in this knob are too few to show that exact value, so it'll snap to the nearest value. I'm going to fix the ticks on this knob. Like I said, this video is a bit more exploratory. So I'm going to double tap on this knob, and I'm just going to fix the ticks. There are 9 ticks, so let's call them 1 through 9. So yeah, 1 through 9, there we go. So that looks right. So now, okay, so a user came back, and this was about 2 years ago, and I thought it was a pretty cool request. With the idea that what if we have the knob jump up and then return to wherever it was, because you've got stuff set up in a particular way, and you might want to create a sudden musical situation and then revert back to the prior musical situation, which some of you will recognize from Machine Jam is playing with this concept with the new lock button. So that's it's kind of a thing that's generally happening, even though it's probably been happening for decades. So now I'm going to show this new feature, and this is called Snap and Return. So I go to More, and I go to Design Mode, and I double tap on this knob, and I go into Relationships and Options as Super. And here, if I scroll down, actually I don't need to scroll down, it's still visible, I see Snap Back to Value. So I'm going to tap that, and that gets turned on, that turns blue, and now we're going to see how this works. So this is the new feature in MIDI Designer 2.45, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I'm going to just exit out of design mode and see what all happens. So that's kind of fun, and we've seen how that works. Now the question is, well, there's several questions and several places to go from here, but one of the questions is, well, what if it's a toggle? And then it would work exactly the same, but the thing is obviously stays on until it gets shut off. So I can go into More, Design Mode, and just change this button. I'm going to call this Snap and Return. And Snap and Return doesn't fit too well, so I'm going to make it multi-line. Okay, that fit. And I'm going to go into Relationships and go into Options as Super, and I'm going to go back. That's not where I want to go at all. So I'm going to just go back to the properties here and just change it from momentary to a toggle and apply it. That's all fine. And now we get this type of thing going. Now, one cool thing, and one cool thing that happens with this is when I hit Snap and Return, I can adjust the value there, and I can also adjust the value in the original state, of course, which is the value that we're going to be snapping back to. So that looks like this. So you can imagine how that would be musically useful. And now let's just show, so again, just to remind you of where does that snap to value come from. That's the max value of this snap and return knob again. So there's no reason why it couldn't be a low value too. So I'm just going to take the MIDI range, and I'm going to go into the MIDI off-on values, and I'm just going to invert the range. And so now it's 33 is where it's going to. So that's pretty low. That's 33 divided by 120, 128 minus 1. That's the percent, I think. So hit apply, exit design mode, and same thing here. Now we're going to just be snapping to this lower value. Alright, so that's snap and return to value. You've also seen momentary controls and steppers and how to stop the wraparound in steppers. Let's go over one more thing since we've got these cool delay functions built into MIDI Designer. I'm just going to take this snap and return and just add a delay to it so it snaps up over time, or in this case down. So I'm going to go into design mode, tap on the snap and return, relationships, options as super, and I've got this snap sub to value, and right now it's none, but I'm actually going to bring it up to 6 seconds. That seems fine. And I'm going to hit the back button. I'm going to exit out of design mode and see how this all goes. Okay, so that's pretty horrible because there are so few ticks in the tone knob. So now we're going to go back into design mode and double tap on the tone knob, and now we're just going to increase the visual maximum to 59 because I have this plus 50. That seems reasonable. And then I'm going to go to the ticks, and I'm also going to hit plus 50, and I get 59. Seems like a good number. I could adjust it obviously to something sensible for me. Hit apply, get out of design mode, and now I should get a smooth snap type thing. So that's a little bit on snap and return to value. Some other places that you can go with this, which are really interesting, and I've experimented with this a little bit, and it works, is snap and return to value can obviously be a super control of any other super control, including super controls that are presets for groups. So you could imagine that you've got some preset in which you're tweaking stuff and stuff is sounding great, and now you want to switch to this other preset where stuff is going mad, or the other way around, it's really calm, or something like that. And you can use snap and return to value to snap the preset knob to the new value and bring it back. Alright, so that was a long and rambling video. Let me just recap what we've seen. So we started with a blank config. We mapped, I showed how to use the design locks in MIDI Designer. I showed how to add some controls, and then we mapped those controls to some stuff in Ableton Live, getting our connection over Wi-Fi moving. And then the first thing I did was I created a momentary stepper, which was a super control for my tone knob, and I showed how that affected how the number of ticks on the knob affected how the super control worked. Then I took that momentary super control and showed the different options for it being a stepper with wraparound, a stepper without wraparound, and then I showed what happens if we get rid of it being a stepper. So we can actually snap to one value on the top and the other value on the bottom. And then I showed the new feature, which is snap and return. We snap to one value on the top, and then we snap to whatever value we came from on the bottom. And that snap and return, I showed that with a momentary, I showed that with a toggle, and then I showed that over time using snap over time. And then I talked about some other possibilities using snap and return as a super control for a super control that is preset. Sorry, using snap and return as a super control for a knob that might be controlling a preset for a group. So that might be a preset knob. There are lots of possibilities in chaining stuff together. You can get all kinds of cool stuff and sensible stuff, and of course, it's all safe within MIDI Designer. There's no real way using super controls and subcontrols to get stuff to blow up or to get a feedback loop to happen. At least that's the theory. So get in touch if you find anything cool. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out MIDI Designer. Thanks for using MIDI Designer. And a huge shout out to the whole community from the people who have done platinum layouts. There are only 9 platinum layouts for MIDI Designer right now, to the people who have done gold layouts. There are a bunch more of those, but they're still insanely cool. And really, all the layouts that people have been doing are very cool. There's just a lot of enthusiasm about building stuff in MIDI Designer, and I'm really excited to see it. And I'm really excited to get your feedback and to hear people say, man, it's great. Well, to hear people say, man, it's great is the best, but to also hear people say, man, it's great, I wish it could do this. So pretty soon I'm going to be opening office hours 1 day a week using zoom.us as the channel for that. And that's going to be, you know, the end result of where MIDI Designer DesignCon 1. We did have a few people show up, and the conversation was interesting, but I think I'm going to just chill the expectation down and have it be just general office hours. If you want to show up and talk to me, talk to other users, it's going to be there, and hopefully we'll get this community moving as a community of people who know each other and people who communicate with each other and share stuff with each other. Please check out mididesigner.com for everything, especially the QA site. There's lots of activity there. A huge shout out to Patrick and Nick at Music.io. A huge shout out to all the journalists, bloggers, everybody else, especially the guys at AudioBus. That forum is super important for iOS Music, iPad Musician on Facebook, Matrix Synth Lounge. I could go on, but I'll leave it off here. Thanks so much for watching, for those of you who stuck it out for this long, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks again.